Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Wicked Majesty's Night Stories. I am your host and narrator, Keya Reed. I hope you all have had a wonderful day today and are kicking back and relaxing with your favorite wine or beer, ready to hear this Friday night story of terror. Tonight's story is one of the many stories that I wrote. You know we girls just want to have some fun, right? Well, so did these young ladies, named Yasmin and Tamara. But in the midst of a great party night, these women come across strange seclusion and silence that would deem to be too abnormal to their liking. Tonight's story I call At Nightfall. Yasmin and Tamara met at Yasmin's place and were in a mood to party their way through the night. After partying all night, Yasmin lurked up the crowded house's stairs, drunkenly laughing. She tripped on the top stairs and fell flat on her face, spilling the clear liquor in her cup down the side onto the rug. She glanced at the growling pool of booze that was now filling Yasmin's face with heady fumes. She stumbled through the nearest door after dragging herself up using the rail. It was a bedroom, but happily no one was there. Yasmin flung open the wardrobe doors, but couldn't find anything. Suddenly, the world tipped around her, and she landed hard on her head against the backboard of the closet. Yasmin was struck out cold, and the door shut behind her, sealing her off from the rest of the world. Yasmin's ears were ringing with the sound of bells. Her stomach was rolling, and something was beating on the inside of her skull. She blinked open her eyes, bleary-eyed, realizing she had no idea where she was. The last thing she remembered doing was playing a drinking game in the dining room with Tamara. She carefully pushed herself up, some intuitive, or possibly recollection, part of her telling her that getting up too quickly would feel like someone had stabbed her in the eyeballs. In the dim light, she searched until she located a handle on one of the walls. Yasmin thought to herself as she pulled the door open, "God bless! Whoever put a doorknob on the inside of whatever she was in." Fortunately, the room's drapes were not empty, so it wasn't too bright. Yasmin, on the other hand, could see that it was morning. She realized she had been in the wardrobe when she turned around. She confessed a little ashamedly that she had been very drunk the night before. Yasmin slammed the door behind her and snuck out the room. There was a large stain of liquor on the rug on the first floor landing, with an abandoned cup next to it. She sneered. What type of person would not clean it up? Then a hazy memory came back to her. It had something to do with tripping over the top step the night before. She whispered to herself, "Whoops." Yasmin made her way into the kitchen, where she drank a huge glass of water and swallowed a couple of aspirins. Behind her eyes, a severe headache was forming. Before getting a slice of pizza, she opened the fridge and peered inside it aimlessly. She placed it in the microwave and watched it spin in circles. She then sagged into the living room and sat down on the couch. Everyone had left. There was no one else in the house. While the relics of the party were strewn about, it was Yasmin's best buddy, Tamara's residence. Tamara was known for throwing house parties. She was a social butterfly who loved being the center of attention. However, she despised having to clean up after everyone. The wall clock read 10:10 a.m. By lunchtime, if Tamara weren't already awake, she'd have dragged herself out. Yasmin didn't have her car, so she hoped she could give her a ride home. She checked her text messages, but no one had texted her since the previous evening. That was a little out of the ordinary. Yasmin always had a dozen people contacting her the next day after most of the events she attended. Yasmin immediately went on Snapchat, but there was no one there. That was a strange experience. On their stories, no one had written anything. It was as if the party had never happened because no one had texted her. Yasmin texted her mother, "I'll be back at my house tonight if you're worried. I was just at Tamara's house for a party." Yasmin's mother didn't respond, so she turned off her phone and grabbed a magazine from the coffee table. Nothing was exhilarating about it, but Yasmin needed to keep herself occupied while she awaited Tamara's awakening. By the time Tamara walked into the kitchen, it was 12:30 p.m. "Morning, Yasmin," she said. A little too cheerful for Yasmin's taste. She replied with a growl, "I guess someone drank a little too much last night," she sang as she danced into the living area, her eyes gleaming. "Yasmin, you have the appearance of a grizzly bear that has been roused from slumber." Yasmin gave Tamara a dirty look before returning to her dull magazine. Tamara only guffawed at her. Yasmin couldn't understand how Tamara could act like this, even though Tamara had drunk just as much as Yasmin the night before. Yasmin was suffering from severe headache, while Tamara was dancing about the home. It wasn't relatively equitable. I believe it is time to tidy up. Tamara's cheerful look vanished, replaced with a more irritated one. I'm not sure why people have to be so sloppy. Perhaps I should make it a rule that if you come, you must clean up after yourself. Did you know that someone ruined my beloved rug by spilling wine on it? Alcohol? Sitting on your favorite rug? People are such pigs, aren't they? She confessed guiltily, unsure whether or not to tell Tamara it was her. Tamara gave a firm nod before picking up discarded plastic cups. Yasmin struggled to her feet and began collecting the trash that had been strewn about the house. It took hours to clean. Before the house was back to how it was before the party, it was dark. Yasmin's headache had subsided. As they cleaned up the last of the crumbs, Tamara inquired, "Are you ready to go?" "I am, without a doubt. By the way, thank you for giving me a lift." Tamara comforted her. "Oh, it's nothing. No one has texted me about last night, which surprises me. After a party, my phone usually vibrates all day, but it's been silent today." Yasmin thought, "That's funny. No one has texted me either. Perhaps we offended them in some way." With a shrug, Tamara stowed the broom and dustpan. "The vehicle is parked in the garage." Yasmin slid open the passenger door and climbed inside. Tamara started the car and backed out, taking care not to collide with the bins or mailbox. Yasmin plugged her phone into the car and started listening to music. They were having a great time as they drove down the road, shouting out their favorite tunes. Yasmin began to stare out the window as time passed. Because it was quite a distance between Tamara's residence and Yasmin's, Tamara would most likely crash at her place for the night in exchange for a ride home. To save time, Tamara turned into the town. The streetlights were dim, far dimmer than they were usually. Despite the late hours of the night, Yasmin was completely awake. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you liked part 1 of my story. If you want to hear the rest of the story, be sure to come back next Friday night at 10 p.m. In the meantime, let me know what you think. Comment your thoughts down below. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Sleep tight. Don't let the shadows bite. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Wicked Majesty's Night Stories. I am your host and narrator, Keya Reed. I hope all of you have had a wonderful day today. Are you ready to hear a continuation of last Friday night's story? Seems like Yasmin and Tamara were about to enter a ghost town. Let's see what happens next at Nightfall. If you like this story and you would like to hear more stories, then hit those like and subscribe buttons down below. Now, go grab your snacks and drinks and let's get back to the story. Something had gone wrong with the connection, and the music was breaking up. Then as they drove through the peaceful street, Yasmin exclaimed, "What was that?" "What?" exclaimed Tamara. That's on the side of the road. It went unnoticed by me." "What was it, exactly? Please describe it for me." It had the appearance of a human. It was resting by the side of the road, but when we went by it, it raised its head and there was blood pouring down the side of its face. Matted hair, torn clothes, and Yasmin, relax. You were most likely hallucinating things. It's late. Perhaps you slept off for a few moments," Tamara offered, expressing concern for Yasmin's mental health. "I promised, Tamara, I was awake." The music had faded away, and the automobile was deafeningly quiet. Yasmin screamed again, but said nothing, since she knew Tamara would mock her if she saw another one. Yasmin knew Tamara was seeing them from her knuckles on the driving wheel as more and more bodies appeared on the road edge. "Take a look at them. What exactly are they?" "Yasmin, I have no idea what you're talking about," Tamara answered, but her voice was stiff and tinged with anxiety. Tamara abruptly slapped on the brakes, Yasmin's neck creaking from moving too quickly. She was propelled forward. Yasmin sat back up and gazed through the windscreen, scratching the back of her head. Then as she saw what was in the center of the road, her angry words for Tamara died on her lips. Someone was hunched over something, their clothes tattered and their hair hair was strewn about. Their clothes and skin were coated in dark stains. Yasmin yelled, her voice returning to her. That's a person, and you could have murdered them. The person turned around as if noticing the headlights for the first time. It had excessively brilliant eyes and pale skin, but that wasn't the worst part. The mouth of the person or creature was open and snarled, with jagged fangs dripping from a red liquid. It wasn't until Yasmin saw what it was holding that everything came together. Blood was streaming from the wide lips of the figure holding an arm, a human arm. The meaty area of the forearm had significant bite marks. Tamara was cursing quietly. In the back of her throat, Yasmin felt bile rise. The thing leered at them one last time before dropping the arm and hurrying down the road into the dark shrubs of the side. Tamara, drive! Get us out of here, Yasmin muttered. Tamara accelerated out of there after pressing the button on the door to lock all doors. What the hell is going on here? She cried out. Is this some disease that's going around? Why aren't we being impacted? Yasmin had no choice but to shake her head. She was afraid that if she said anything, she would become ill. They passed a stopped car on the side of the road. As they entered the twisting section, they slowed down even further to check whether anyone was inside. The car paintwork had lengthy gouge marks, and the front windscreen and glass had been broken. The edges of the shattered glass were painted in a dark color, but Tamara and Yasmin knew it was blood by now. Tamara had the appearance of a ghost. Around the abandoned car, dark forms began to move. Bang! Something thudded against the car's side. Yasmin screamed, "Move! Move! Move!" as more and more thuds slammed into the automobile from all sides. "I'm giving it my all," she yelled back, and Tamara shouted back, "Something is blocking the tires. We'll be stranded unless they move." They exchanged horrified looks. Something was different now. Silent. Tamara attempted to move the automobile once more, but it remained stuck. They sat in silence for a few moments. Outside, nothing moved. "I'm going to free the wheels," Tamara made the decision. She snatched up a torch and a knife. "If something goes wrong, please lock the doors after me. Please don't open them till I've knocked 3 times." Yasmin had vanished into the darkness before she could object to Tamara's dumb and hazardous notion. She reached over and flicked the lock switch. Despite her reluctance, she noticed the torch's tiny stream of light make its way around to the front of the car. Then the thuds and booms began all over again. Before turning off, the torchlight swung widely in the air. Outside the automobile, an awful cry erupted, but the car's walls muffled it. Yasmin started shouting and crying, "Tamara, get back in the car!" she yelled. Yasmin's window was slammed by a pale hand with long, jagged nails. Her screams grew louder and louder as she became more terrified. The car's headlights were still on. Yasmin raised her head to peer through the front windscreen. A horde of infected people stood in the light, all of them laughing wildly at Yasmin. One more individual rose to their feet. Tamara waved and beamed a gory grin at Yasmin. They both were terrified and were eager to get rid of them. Yasmin got out, getting Tamara in the car, when immediately another infected man rose and got a hole in the vehicle. Tamara and Yasmin ran into the nearby shed and locked it. There was a heuristic silence for a few seconds. Suddenly, the shed started to shake as the infected people started to hurtle on it. Yasmin and Tamara had no clue what to do. They only had one option, which was to kick the shed door and try to flee away. They both agreed and shouldered the door down. Yasmin picked up the plank and ran towards the car. She slammed the plank on the man, and she and Tamara quickly got into the car and locked the door. Yasmin got a hold of the steering wheel and started to drive. All of the people rose in front of the car. "We have no choice but to drive the car above them," Tamara yelled. Yasmin drove at full speed and killed many people along the way. They finally escaped after going a long way with their heartbeat pumping hard. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you like my story. Next Friday, I will be hosting another story written by myself called The Colorado Hotel Room 326. So be sure to come back next Friday night at 10 p.m. In the meantime, let me know what you think. Comment your thoughts down below. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Sleep tight. Don't let the shadows bite.